And then, let's see. I think we got some new patrons. We did. Nick and Jim.
Okay, I'm going to use the restroom real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Weiss.
And like, I don't know who made the decision that all the games need to come out in April, because I am not on board with this.
There's a bunch of other stuff that's coming out, right?
Yeah, well, like the Horizon Forbidden West DLC comes out in like a week and a half.
Mm.
It's like I don't have time for that right now. Like, why are you doing? What are you doing to me? And then like the League of Legends Mage Seeker game comes out like next week or the week after. Which that's the one that's done by the not Forager. The other pixel art game. I mean that's narrowing it down. The one where you like work the shop during the day and then you go
Moonlighter.
Moonlighter, yeah. So those devs are making that. That looks like it's gonna be pretty good. Like a whole bunch of other stuff too. It's like why all of a sudden? Like why now? Like I'm busy. Where were you like last month when I'm
Hey, Matt.
looking for things to play?
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Oh. I'm sorry. That's why I don't do it on the weekend and I just do it all at once because like well, I mean it's content, but also like if like my initial pack openings are bad, then I don't notice it as much with the packs I buy with gold. Because like at the end of the day, you're probably gonna open everything anyway if you're buying the bundle and buying with gold. Right. So then you just get anxious about it for 3 days and you can't do anything about it. But it's fun to open presents. I just want my presents to have batteries when I open them.
Yeah. Or for your parents to have
Weiss.
unpacked them and installed all the updates.
Yes.
'Cause
Well,
the future
I'm
is
old.
dumb.
I'm old, so we didn't have updates to consoles when I was that age. Like we just needed batteries. Like when I got a Game Gear for my bar mitzvah, and
Yeah.
so we had the party, and then we're done with the party. We're going to bed in the hotel room, and I've got the Game Gear, but no batteries. It's like, okay, well, that's something I wanted to play with, like in the hotel room, and nope, not doing that till I get home.
Yeah.
And you really needed batteries for the Game Gear because those batteries were about 15 minutes of game time.
The Game Gear, you could get if they were the good batteries, you could get a solid like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like the camera,
Or
well, not camera batteries. What were the high yield
like
batteries
the
used for
like
back
the
then?
like the good alkaline batteries. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
The expensive
you had to get
energizers.
but you had to get the AC adapter, and then the cord in the AC adapter would inevitably fray, so that you would just like lose all your progress randomly in the middle of the game because the
Too
cord
soon,
would
Steve.
give way.
Too soon.
This is old men yell about technology.
Hey.
Old men being me. I'm the old men.
No, I didn't have the Game Gear. I had the opposite experience of had plenty of battery life, but had to lean in the back corner of the Mercury Villager to get street lights for the Game Boy. So that
Oh
the overhead
yeah.
passing lamps would illuminate me enough to
Yeah.
take my turns.
It's hard to play Tetris that way.
I had to go for more turn-based games. Tetris was difficult.
Dude, the backlight one was a game changer.
It's the GBA special, that GBA-SP.
Oh yeah, the GBA-SP, yeah.
Was a phenomenal handheld. Really, really incredible. It's so small and
played the
square.
shit out of that thing.
And it flipped out, and
and
I
it
remember
had
having
Final
to
Fantasy
buy...
Tactics Advanced on it.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I had to buy a light for the old original GBA, and that thing
Yeah.
did not work well.
The
Like,
the
not at
original
all.
Giba did not hold up compared to the SP.
You needed to use that in like daylight, in like a lit room. You needed to use that because the screen was so bad.
Though
Oh,
Space
yeah.
Prez, he's an engineer in the Hearthstone team, and he just posted an update where he installed a backlit IPS screen in his Game Boy
Oh, yeah.
Advance.
Yeah, that looks sweet. I just saw that go through my feed. That looks really sweet.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a badass for changing out the joysticks in my Joy-Cons a couple weeks ago.
I mean, the Steam Deck is a pretty nice machine. It's heavy, but
Yeah.
like it's it's not the hold it over your head and play like a Switch Lite or a DS or whatever. But it's still
It's surprisingly comfortable. I was
Yeah.
kind of concerned with like where the sticks are and everything, but it's actually surprisingly comfortable to play for a long time. I've most of the way. Well, I'm into the second half of the Messenger, and
Good game.
yeah, I'm a little lost now. But I mean, I'm just following a walkthrough, and I play it in spurts. But yeah, I can play for like a while, and I don't even really notice it. It's great. And like I'm at the point where I don't really want to buy Switch games anymore anyway, because it's like impossible to play them with Nintendo's backwards DRM with 3 Switches in the house. It's just too complicated now.
Yeah.
Oh. Poor Wise thinks I'm gonna feed her every time I go in the kitchen.
Yeah. My mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law moved out here a couple months ago, and so she came with her cat, and she every time that she goes like to my parents' house or with us out somewhere or whatever, she tells the cat that she's going to work. Because the cat she's worried that the cat's gonna worry. Yeah, I'm going to work, Lily. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with talking to the cat. Cat's got
No, there's
a
nothing
right to
wrong.
know what's going on as much as anybody else.
Yeah. No, the cat was very active when I was over there helping her with a new computer this past weekend. So
Yeah.
muted me a couple times.
Shall we do the show?
We can do it. Oh, I should open up an Audacity. That would be a good idea.
Seems ideal.
Okay. All right. I am recording.
Recording.
Recording. Okay. I'm gonna tweet and ping people.
Oh yeah, tweeting is good.
Okay, I have tweeted. Good, no one took Superior David yet for coin conceits. Got him.
Oh yeah, yeah. I hadn't even thought about coin conceits.
Oh, I must have missed something.
Oh yeah, he's retiring from content creation.
Oh, okay. Decided to take something more stable.
It sounds like it, yeah.
That's a bummer, but
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Well, I think he's looking to get back. He said he's looking to figure out a way to get back to making it a hobby. Maybe he just burned out on it.
Sure,
That happened. That definitely happens when you go full time.
sure.
All right.
All right. I'm recording.
Shall we?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Starting the show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you! Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend!
Hello and welcome to episode 390 of Coin Conceit, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Friday, April 7th in the evening. Thank you everyone for being flexible with us. We moved the show around a little bit. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Nomergon, Ohio, we have Edelweiss.
Hello.
And from Northern Massachusetts, we have Wicked.
Hi.
And from where you are, listener, we have you. Thank you so much for being here. Extra special shout out to our newest patrons this week, Nick M. and Jim W. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone who's left us reviews, helps other people find the show. Thank you to all of our live Twitch viewers, and I'm going to give a special shout out right now. All the people that hung out with the three of us in some way on Wednesday, Theory Crafting Day, because we all did that. And it was cool. And we're going to talk about that multiple times this episode, so I hope you're ready for it because it's going to happen. So thank you everyone that was there, thank you everyone that's here, and then listeners, thank you for being you. All right, life, ladder, other stuff. Steve, you wrote things.
I did. I wrote a dusting guide. I do this every year, but around rotation, because people tend to go and dust all their stuff that's rotating, and then sometimes they are sad when they go to play duels or wild or whatever the new mode is that's coming that's going to let us play with our old cards that they teased at the New Year announcement. So every year I put out a dusting guide. This is like I think this is the 6th year that I've done it, actually.
Been a lot of years.
And I started with when year of the first year the Kraken rotated out, and I've done it ever since. So but so it's got a list of a bunch of only the legendaries and epics, because the rares and commons are like just not worth dusting. If you're goldens are, but regular cards they're not worth dusting if you're only getting like 5 or 20 dust per. So at least like the legendaries and the epics are worth something. So it goes through and lists the ones that are that haven't really seen any play or seen only a little bit of play, and then why they're bad if it makes you feel better about it. So go check that out if you're looking for a little bit of dust before rotation. I've been playing with my Steam Deck and playing TFT most of the past week. I'm making a push to Diamond in TFT before the new expansion drops, before the new Hearthstone expansion drops, because I know like once Tuesday comes, I'm not touching TFT for like a month. So I'm at like Plat 1 right now, and I'm trying to make a push over this weekend to try to get there. And I've been just like playing whatever I can find to install on my Steam Deck. I bought a humble bundle of Vampire Survivors likes. So there's been like Rogue Genesia and Bone Razor Minions. I think is Bone Razor Minions. I don't know if did you buy that bundle, Hat? I know I
sure did.
I harassed you about it. So I don't know if you tried Bone Razor Minions yet, but there is a lot of Hat related content in that game. So if you need any direction in what to try first. But I am a sucker for Survivors likes. So I've been playing those, and then I bought a Metroidvania called Vernal Edge this week too, which is, it's kind of like, it's a Metroidvania, but there's also like this 3D airship, like Final Fantasy 3-ish section to go between the islands, and there's like a Devil May Cry-ish combat system. It's pretty cool. It's a little bit rough because it does the Hollow Knight thing where it doesn't give you the map right away, and then
Sure.
And there are not a lot of walkthroughs for it, so I kind of get lost, and I'm not really sure if I'm doing the right thing or not. But it's been pretty fun. Basically, like I'm just trying a whole bunch of games that I gave up on or forgot about because they're on my shiny new toy, right? So so that's what I'm doing. And in Hearthstone, I've been playing Control Priest. I haven't really been in a huge rush to get to Legend. I'll probably finish it up this weekend. I'm at like Diamond 2 with 11x. But I was trying to do Unholy DK. I thought it would go faster. It didn't. I tried Quest Druid a little bit, figuring that was at the top of the meta list, and that just was not going. And everybody's running ETC with Theatar in it, even in decks that probably shouldn't. Like I had that done to me from like a Frost DK and an Unholy DK, and it's like, why? Like, why are you just just kill the druid. Why are you putting ETC in your deck? But they also were running Astalor, which doesn't seem like the Unholy Decay doesn't seem like a thing you really need. But who am I to say? But yeah, I've just been playing Control Priest, and other than the one game against a druid where they drew down to 2 cards in their deck, and I played a Zarella that had 4 Plague Spreaders loaded up in it. And this is after I had played my Theatar with them having 5 cards in their hand and them having played Astalor 2 and missed. And then I played the Zarella with 4 Plague Spreaders in it and still died to all of the combo pieces except for Bran. They had everything. They just played a Nubricon, and they played Astalor 8. They played the Guff quest reward and probably something else. They just had everything but the Bran and just killed me anyway. So, those games happen. But, in general, people are playing the faster decks to try to just get the Legend Climb done, and I've been able to capitalize on those for the most part. So, it's faster for me to climb with the slow deck than it is to climb with the fast deck, I guess.
It's unsurprising from you.
Yeah, fair.
And ladder right now, we're not going to attempt to dissect it because our engagement is limited and the format is wacky. It's the Franken meta. They reverted a bunch of cards. From the time we were recording this, there are 3.5 more days with them. From the time you're listening to this, it will be a smaller number than that. And attempting to figure it out will drive you insane and will not be effective or have a good ROI in your time. But it appears that there are a lot of decks that kill people that are good right now. I know Stinzy just posted a Quest Demon Hunter list and said, "Why is this okay?" And I said, because it goes away in 4 days. And they said, well, where is the unnerfed to Rod then? And I said, in hell, because there are some lines that you just don't cross. Ella, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I hit 6,700 in BGs, which I think is a personal best. So we'll see if I can get that to 7 in the time between now and the new cards. But I've mostly been trying to figure out taxes stuff. We've, of course, been busy the last couple days with Satyrs for Passover. But when I was initially going to do taxes things, I got horrifically sick last week. And then when we were going to sort out something with the software, my mom, of course, was sick. So we couldn't get that sorted out. She's the one who buys the home and business TurboTax thing, and then I use her copy. Except we've ran into this issue the second year in a row, where because she installs it with the disk, they don't let you download it, because when you go to their website to try and download it, they say, oh, well, that code's already been used. It should be in your downloads. But of course it isn't, because she used the CD. And
What year is this?
They say on the thing, pick one of these 2 methods, but it isn't clear that once you do one, you can't do the other, which means the optimal way is always to, instead of using the disk, get it in your downloads. And I'll bet if you put it in your downloads first, you probably can still use the disk. I don't know, maybe not. It just is a very this doesn't come up enough for them to fix the problem, so they just don't. And so we have to play customer service roulette to see who is actually going to help us. The first person we called did not. And then my mom persisted and called again, got a different person, and they fixed our problem.
Oh my God.
So
This is tiring. I feel tired.
yeah.
I'm tired just listening to this for sure. Yeah.
It's I have another technique that might not actually work for you. I just married an accountant, and it's done now. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually available for either of you two, but if anyone out there is listening, it's by far the best tax solution I've ever found. It's not even close. Really.
I think the solution is for your wife to go get her CPA in Ohio so she could do Adel's taxes for her. That seems like a reasonable solution to the problem.
It's a very long trajectory there. Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
Come to Cleveland.
But yeah.
It'll be great.
Outside of taxes, well, I mean, I guess we all theory crafted, and now we're just staring at the client because it doesn't have the cards we want. Okay.
Yep.
We're just doing like the Wolverine meme for the like the next week, basically.
3.5 days. We're almost there. Almost there.
Time is a meaningless
So
construct. Kat.
long.
It's
I can never sleep on the Monday before. It's horrible.
Well, see, I found a workaround to this too. It's called Mario. I don't have the time to worry about things. I just have the time to
Sure.
be tired because Mario is busy. For those of you unaware of a bunch of contextual things, I work at a movie theater, and Mario is a small Italian plumber that has stolen the nation's hearts for 50 years. And those two things are converging on my life right now. So, it's all right. It's a lot. I'm looking forward to Sunday when I have a day off, and then I will be streaming Tuesday night, thankfully. But yeah, I took some time off to Theorycraft. I'm going to take some time off so we can do opening night streams. New set's really rad. We're going to talk about it a bunch. And otherwise, I have continued playing games that are not Hearthstone because I'm about to overdose on Hearthstone next week, and so it's all about the palate cleanser. So the I've switched incremental games at the recommendations of other good faith bad influences. So I'm on Antimatter Dimensions right now, which is the most streamlined version of numbers going up possible. It is layers and layers of numbers going up. I will spare you all the details. Then Immortality. It is. So Matt London tweeted about this, and I do things that Matt London tweets about. It's an FMV mystery movie game thing. Same person that did Her Story, if you're familiar. It comes with a content warning when you start the game that is very long, and includes. It starts with blasphemy and ends with murder, as things often do, and there's a bunch of nudity in the middle. Really compelling and interesting game. That NC-17, do not play with children or parents or really anybody that isn't aware of what's going on here. But the mystery is really pleasant to unfold. So, been doing some of that. And staring at deck lists that I can't play until Tuesday. So, we're going to jump right into the hype section. We'll start with some news, and then brief touch on tournaments, much like Hearthstone Esports, and then we will just vibe out about theory crafting until the end of the show. Yes, I said it, Edel. Don't make that face at me. They did it to themselves.
I know.
All right, here we go.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Okay. So, the 26.0 patch came out. All right, so did I give my timing update on this show? I can't remember which show I did this thing. You'll be listening to the show probably on Sunday? Saturday, Sunday? I don't know when. Whenever it gets edited. The ideal thing to do right now is to save your quests. Starting Sunday, you want to have one daily. Then you keep your rolled over quests on Monday. And you stack your dailies for Monday and Tuesday so that when the set comes out on Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, you have 3 of each, a full quest log, and then you knock them all out right after the rewards track rolls over, and you progress through the rewards track quickly on day 1 to get that free legendary right away. The reason to do this is only to make fast progression on the new rewards track to get your free legendary faster, but free legendary faster is a good thing. That's optimal if you're looking to make the most progress through the rewards track on day 1. So, achievements have already rolled over. Duels has new cards in buckets. You can't build with them, but you can find them. And next, on Tuesday, at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, there will be a global, synchronized switch over to the new standard year. There's no patch. It's already out. The patch that they have released is the one that you will need. So all you need to do is open your client and play. You can do firesides right now, right this very moment, and through the weekend if you want to open your packs early. If you do that, do not open standard packs. Do not open class packs. Anything dynamic. It only has cards that are in standard, and the Festival of Legends cards are not in standard, so if you open them, you will be sad. So just hold those. Don't open them yet. And you can't buy the new packs with gold yet. You can only do the pre-order bundles, which are not running an extra week this time. If you are waiting to buy a pre-order bundle because they run an extra 7 days after the set comes out, no, they don't. That was only one time in March of the Lich King. That stopped happening. If that's what you're waiting for, go buy it now when you're listening to this, because it will be gone when the set comes out.
And if you do want to play with the new cards and duels, the trick is to put ETC into your starting deck, because it looks at your deck when it decides what to offer you. So if you don't have any Festival of Legends cards in your starting deck, it's less likely to offer you buckets from that set. So just put ETC in your starter deck, and you'll be more likely to get offered the new cards.
Yeah. So that's going on right now. Arena rotations on Tuesday. And we also have the Franken meta right now, as it is affectionately known, where they do the changes intended for rotation, but there's a week before rotation. The reason this happens is because to change a card at the text box and all that, or even just to change numbers, you have to ship assets. And assets come with a new build, and the new build is the patch. So they can't save the server side, because then they're rolling out a new build on launch day. You don't want to do that. So they do that with the patch, but all the stuff that's server side, rewards track rollover, standard rotation, whatever, that stuff can happen a week later. So that week in between, they decided, you know what, let's make this an event. They did. It's fun. And there's a bunch of stuff going on standard right now. So scroll these patch notes. There's a special event coming in April 18th. Normal thing. Event pops up in the client. You can either do the thing it says or just play Hearthstone and you'll get free stuff. It's really not hard to get through this without paying any attention to it, so just enjoy your free stuff. Signature cards have been updated. They're rad. And starting with this patch, you can disenchant any signature cards that you own that are, well, not craftable, but the ones that they give to you as part of a rewards track, those are uncraftable, undustable cards like every other rewards track bonus ever. No, you can't dust those. But the ones that you open, or the ones that you got with last expansion's Mega Bundle, you can dust those if you want. They're the same dust values as Golden Legendary. You cannot craft them. And if you dust them and decide you want to go back and craft them again, you can't. So don't do that if you're even a little bit on the fence, because you cannot get them back. But you can dust the old ones, you can dust the new ones. So, then we have a bunch of card balance updates for cards rotating to Wild. I'm going to go through these pretty quick because, again, the strategic impact of an episode that will be relevant for 2 days after you hear it, we're not going to analyze. We're just going to fire and forget. Let's go. All right. Final Showdown. Reverted. Back to draw 4 cards in turn. Carry of Fellsoul. Reverted. Who cares? Razorman Battleguard got its point of health back. Kolkar Pack Runner back to a 2-mana 2/3 as nature intended. Dragonbane Shot back to 2 mana. The Mage quest line got unnerfed. You get your 3 spell damage back. The Mage Hero got unnerfed. Goes back to 2 damage. Honorable Kill, gain 2 damage. Conviction back to 1 mana. My goodness, level up back to 5 mana. Cold Blood back to 1 mana. Yes! Garrote back to shuffle in 3 bleeds. Evil Miscreant back to 5 health. I can't believe people remember that actually existed. Forsaken Lieutenant back to 2 mana. I don't think anyone will remember this existed. Tame the Flames, the Shaman quest, back to its original play 2 cards with Overload for the final step, so it's back to 8. Granite Forgeborn, the Meta Tyrant, back to 4 mana 4/5. We'll see if this card is ever played again outside of Arena. Dark Pact goes back to restoring 8 health. The Demon Seed, unbanned from Wild. Take 10 damage for each phase. 30 damage to activate the Demon Seed. My goodness. Stealer of Souls. Remember that they also changed the immune effect, so if you pay health while you're immune, you still pay it, because that was tax evasion. That's what Capone went to jail for. Stealer of Souls is now back to a 4-mana 2/6, but only changes the first card you draw each turn to make it cost health instead of mana, instead of every card you draw. Enjoy it for the last week it's in Standard. I don't think you're going to see this too much in Wild. Fiery War Axe, back to 2 mana. Rest well, sweet prince. Have fun in Wild. Warsong Commander. It's back to whenever you summon a minion with 3 or less attack, give it charge. Probably not competitive enough in Wild anymore. But you can see, they're just ripping the Band-Aid off and saying, you know what, we're doing something big with Wild this year. Go ahead and have the stuff that you remember back. Have a good time. Morshan Watch Post, the mediocre one. The one that makes a minion whenever, it makes a 2/2 whenever your opponent plays a minion's back to a 3/5. Ice Revenant, Time to Shine. If you want to see what this would have been, now is your chance until Tuesday. Faces Corruptor back to a 5-4 Goldshire Knoll, perhaps the fastest reversion in history. It was nerfed for a month. It is back to 10 mana. By the way, it was bugged for a little bit. It still only evolved off Blazing Transmutation into a Goldshire Knoll because they hard-coded that to fix the previous bug. So they undid the previous bug fix, and now it is back to normal with the server-side patch today. Pandaren Importer will also be reverted in a patch after it has rotated to Wild. And Demon Seed and Stealer of Souls, they are eligible for dust refunds because they did get nerfed. They also got unbanned. So this is how they're going to handle that going forward. They let the door hit these cards on the way out, so to speak. But yes, you can technically cast them. And Demon Seed is seeing some play in Wild, I think because it's new, but you can do some fun stuff with it. I don't know.
You can do some fun stuff with the 1600 dust you're going to get from dusting it too.
Yeah,
in 3.5 days.
You can. It's the world is your oyster. You can do both. You got the nerfs are good for 2 weeks, and the meta's around for 1 week. So wait until festival. Go ahead and get your Demon Seed on. Battlegrounds got updated. The minions that got buffed, the magnetic minions that got buffed in core, replicating Menace and Wargear, those buffs moved over to Battlegrounds too. Sire Denathrius is back. Friend of a Friend. Instead of being a 6 tier, it's back to being a 5 tier. It used to be Battlecry, Discover a Buddy. Now it's when you sell this Discover a Buddy. And also, back then, buddies were only tiers 2, 3, and 4. Now, they're tiers 1 through 6, and this is tier limited in terms of what it can find. So it is significantly less broken, has been a fun card to try out. It's way worse and still amusing. So, cool. In terms of duels, I'm scrolling for a while. While I'm scrolling, listener, the entire time I'm scrolling with my mouse wheel at normal speed. Those were all duels updates. There are so many, and I know so little about competitive duels right now. I'm not even going to try and read these out or tell you what's going on, but they changed a bunch of stuff. We'll go now to our duels correspondent, Steve. Steve, do you know anything about these?
I forgot that they even touched duels in this patch. So
thanks, Steve. Now on to sports. So, we have arena updates. On Tuesday, arena runs will end. You want to get your run to 2 losses and then leave it there so they automatically retire it for you and compensate you for removing your run from circulation. They will update it to match standard, Voyage, Nathria, Lich King, Path, Festival, and Core. In addition, there are a lot of bug fixes, quite a few, a significant number. So, first of all, we got the rules change for Immune, fixed a bunch of bugs where copying deck codes with ETC just didn't really work right. Generally, they got that covered. The Ajara bug with Ring of Tide's been fixed. It now no longer gets stuck in its first transformation. The updated Invincible's card text still works the same way. Grandmaster Ramath got a little nerf. He no longer replays the spells in the order that you played them. It is now random as it was intended. But apparently, Ramath played the spells in the order that you played them before. That's new information to me. Kibler was upset about this. He was probably also the only person that knew it worked this way. And also, this is probably a pretty good change because otherwise Light Show would start with a bunch of light shows, and I don't know if we want that. I don't know if that's a thing that we're looking for. Let's see, what else? Some Build-A-Beast Zombeast effects got changed. Fixed a bug where Inkmaster Solia's effect would be spent even if the card played as counter, so they're trying to get things closer to Swiftscale Trickster. Justice for Inkmaster Solia, who costs nearly double the mana and requires Highlander instead of just being a 4-mana rogue card. Life just isn't fair sometimes. There were bugs where bots on ladder. The way that bots work on ladder, Blizzard bots, official first-party bots, is weird. They're basically instance decks. So, Renathal wasn't nerfed for them. They still had pre-nerf Renathal. Sometimes they would have 40 health, and also sometimes they got to play pre-infused cards. They would just be turn 2 Priest of the Deceased. It would be a 5/6 with taunt. That's been resolved. However, as a brief update, some other bots have made their way onto ladder in prep for Festival. They are Festival standard bots. They have the new cards. They have new core. You don't. You'll beat them anyway if you run into them, but if you see a Dr. Boom, that's where this is coming from. It is a Blizzard bot. The surefire way to tell if it's a Blizzard bot, if you go to add friend for your last opponent and they are not in the friends list, it was an official Blizzard bot. And sometimes you will see these. If you go exploring to see how deep Legend goes, you will run into them because it's based on MMR whenever you don't have a good MMR match. and I have checked in. I don't believe it's unintended for this to happen if you go pushing the edges of your MMR band. In particular, if you go plumbing the depths of Legend, I don't think it's unintended for you to run into these spots. I don't have an official statement, but I didn't get a reply that says this is obviously a bug, we'll fix it. And so it's not confirmation, but usually when I post this sort of thing, they're like, oh, that's not supposed to happen. No one told me it's not supposed to happen. So take that for what it is. And what else? You can apparently search cosmetics by a hero's base name. If you want to search for all your Scabs Cutter Butter cosmetics, you can just type in Scabs. Cool. And that's for hero portraits. There were a couple Mercenaries bugs that got fixed. There's a treasure named Dat Ashbringer. Man, that name makes me want to play more Mercenaries. There was also a bug where the Death Knight golden cards in core were granted to everybody by mistake, so that got fixed to go back to respecting your win count. This means if you owned a Death Knight deck with core cards in them, and you didn't have a lot of wins, then your deck now shows as ineligible. You own these cards, they're core, everybody has them, you just have to copy and repaste your deck, and it'll fill in fine, or you can manually re-add the card, but the cards that are missing are the golden versions, the base versions are still in your collection because they're core, they're free. So, you just have to do that, but if you have a Death Knight deck, you can't queue it up. It's not a bug, it's fixing a bug, but the symptom of the resolution is wonky. So, and you will earn these cards back as soon as you get your Death Knight wins. It's the same as every other class. As you increase in win count, I think it's 50, 100, 250, 500 for the 4 different rarities, you will unlock the golden core cards. And I think that's mostly it. In this patch, at least. But there was also a server-side patch today. Hooray! Do we have any commentary on that stuff while I adjust OBS?
No, it's good stuff. I mean, it's I think the Death Knight one is the one that's going to trip most people up, just because I've seen it mentioned multiple times today, and it's like, well, they need to fix this bug. No, this is the fix. The cure is worse than the disease.
Yep. I'm not sure if it's going to matter in the long run, but I can say in the past few days there have been a lot of people that are like, this is my stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
yeah.
this is the time to do it, right? Because in 3.5 days we're going to be deleting all those decks anyway, at least in standard, and then it's not going to be a problem, right? Because you're only going to have the cards that you can pick from.
With the new class that's losing nothing, I'm not sure. I think that outside of the highly engaged player base, and especially with people that maybe don't have access to as many cards, this is just going to be... It's a roadblock that looks like a bug, and either a cleaner implementation of a solution or better in-game comms would probably help here. Even just a pop-up that explains what to do would be helpful as a workaround. Because the workaround is there, but anyone that's not in a Discord that just goes to play with their cards and then it doesn't work, are they going to buy a pre-order?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Either way, it's back to the way it should have been the whole time, but also in the process it ended up causing some ambiguous technical problems. So, we also got a patch today with some server-side changes. Fixed a bug where audio amplifiers spent extra mana when played. What?
Okay, this one sucked. So,
of course you know why this was happening. Go ahead.
so I was playing Mech Mage and I had to run audio amplifier to meet the 10 card requirement for Festival of Legends, and I had a discount on my next mech, and I was like, all right, I'll play this audio amplifier, and then I'll Ziliax Magnetic and get that rush so I can push more face damage. And I played the audio amplifier, and I had no more mana to spend. And I was like, wait, did I miscalculate what everything was going to cost with the discount, and then the discount going away so I can Ziliax? And I'm like, no, my crystals are all empty now. So it seemed like it was basically like, okay, you set your max mana crystals to 11, but also you don't get any more this turn.
Well, you blew out the amp.
I guess. So it would never come up if you were just playing it on curve, right? Because you only have 2 mana crystals anyway. But I was on like 5 or 6 mana. So Did not feel great to basically skip the rest of my turn. I would have played differently had I known.
I'm glad they fixed this before launch. I'm glad they fixed all these things before launch. Yeah, that didn't come up for me for some reason.
Huh.
Because I think Audio Amplifier was in a 0 of my decks. Because
You didn't play any mech thing?
I did. I played
discovered?
mechs with text that mattered. I didn't play River Crocs.
Yeah, you played Ziliax. That was the mechs.
Frequency Oscillator is a good boy. I like him.
Yeah.
I played Amalgam of the Deep. That's a River Croc
Oh,
that
yeah.
does something. Yes. So, Shadow Jeweler Hanar. So, fixed a bug where Hanar and Sketchy Stranger would only offer 2 options under certain conditions. I believe the conditions are Year of the Wolf, because this is definitely the fix to Paladin not having secrets and showing 3 things instead of 1 of each. Cool. Fixed the Blazing Transmutation bug. That's got fixed today. Fixed a bug where Demon Hunter bots on ladder were gaining an armor instead of an attack from their hero power. I would love to hear this story. Would love to hear this story. As I am certain that coding bots is difficult, and these bugs are objectively hilarious, and also are not really all that impactful because you're beating up on Blizzard bots. But this is just the weirdest thing. Just the weirdest thing. I'm trying to think of how this could happen. I'm just not going to project.
No, there's no like
It's-
there. I'm sure there's a perfectly logical explanation, and that's how they fix the bug. But figuring out how that happens in the first place is just like this is a 10-year-old code base, right? This is building Jenga stacks on top of Jenga stacks on top of Jenga stacks, and things get wobbly. That's what happens.
So, Proxalox in chat is saying Leo may have, he mentioned that this may have come up when he was updating hero powers for Groovy Cat and made a mistake here.
It is
I
something that
didn't-
we don't often think about. Is like every time there's something like that that manipulates a hero power, you have to consider what happens when another class gets it.
Emergent interactions are fun, but seem really difficult to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like they have to have a shadow version. I'm sure it's just a filter that goes over top, but for everyone in case they shadow form.
Yeah. Yeah, or like, when you play Wildfire, right? Like a Warlock can play Wildfire and all of a sudden you're doing 3 damage to your face.
Right.
Like-
Yeah.
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
So, I don't know. I think that's a fun bug. I think that's okay. Fixed a bug where Solid Alibi would block Abyssal Curse damage. They just changed the sequencing there. Fixed a bug where Warsong Commander would not grant charge to copies of minions that were granted charge and then buffed past 3 attack. Good. Justice for Warsong. If Warsong cannot give a frothing charge, the soul of the card has not been preserved. That meme is so old it's applying for AARP. Denathrius is now actually back in the minion pool. When I said it was live with 26.0, I lied, but that's fixed now because it was part of the server-side patch today. Fixed a bug where Friend of a Friend and ETC had slightly different eligible buddy pools. Fixed a bug where Living Nightmare would cause minions in Bob's Tavern to appear in the shop one at a time. Fixed a bug where effects that gave you a regular copy of an opponent's minion would offer a golden Theatar instead of a regular Theatar. That's to make up for his nerf on the standard side, I guess. And there was a bug preventing quest completion for returning players under certain circumstances. Also, what is not disclosed here, but I have seen and heard, is that the background audio thing is resolved for some devices. Not all, but some. I don't know which ones, because I don't listen to a lot of background audio, but I tweeted about it, and a lot of listeners replies like it works now. So, hey, try it out.
Let us know if you're listening to us while playing Hearthstone right now.
Yeah, well, finish your turn first.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all right. That was pretty fast patch coverage there. I think we're good. So yeah, chat is saying iOS is working, Android isn't. Okay.
Oh, that's all that matters then. That's
Cool.
cool.
Also, Proxalox, how are you playing on iOS and listening and typing in Twitch chat. That's impressive. L-Bomb is editing the Rogue video right now. Our Twitch chat's all right. Twitch chat's all right. Good job, Twitch chat. You do you. It's by the way, if you're there listening to me in Twitch chat, you have lethal. How do you like it? How do you like it, chat? All right. So, in addition, we have some fun news. Hearthstone, Knights of the Frozen Throne solo content is going to be at Summer Games Done Quick. What the hell? The solo adventures for KFT. I am guessing they are going to do all 9 classes at the time, because for those of you new to the game, once there was only 9 classes, and the solo content back then, you had to beat the Lich King himself with all 9 classes. So maybe this is what it is. I don't know, but I'm gonna watch it. It's after Halo 3 and before Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, I'm super watching that entire block.
Oh wow, that is banging. Holy crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I guess if you're gonna do, it took me like 2 years to beat the Lich King with all 9 classes.
I think I grounded out on day 1. It took 4.5 hours, and the Hunter one was entirely just Barnes into Yasharaj rag rolls. It was miserable. Yeah. There were better ways to do it that we found later. And now, I'm pretty sure now, because it's still wild legality, you can just play Jade Druid or something and just destroy them, or play any modern Hearthstone deck and you're probably fine. So I'm curious to see how they dismantle this boss. And we'll find out, because it's going to be at a speedrunning marathon. Love to see that. Celestalon has posted about how the Smart Deck Builder was improved, and we talked about this last week, so I'm going to cut this from the show. Markety mark. This is being marked down. Edel will see this from space. Hello, Raw Audio. How you doing? We undercooked your podcast. There is a raw spot right here in the middle, but it'll be okay. We'll fix it in post. The Festival Legends pronunciation guide. This is more Leo memeing, but it's funny. So commonly mispronounced FOL cards and how to pronounce them. The Death Knight weapon. Arcanite Ripper, not Arcanite Reaper. Reaper is a 5/2. This is a Ripper because it's a guitar and it rips. Halvaria Darkraven. First name is pronounced Halvaria. He did not explain how to pronounce the last name. I took care of that myself. Zoc Fogsnout. It's like sock, but with a Z. Ironically, not wearing any Zocs or Jews. That's a direct quote from Leo. I try to pronounce Jews. It is harder than you think. Yeah. Also, kind of sounds like a homonym for the ethnicity of all 3 hosts in this podcast. Just going to mark this one down for the Raw Audio, too, but Raw listeners just have a good time. It's kosher. All right. Infinitize the Maxitude. Apparently, Celestalon stopped him from calling it Infinitismicize.
Oh my god.
I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, and I'm not running that back. You can go to the thread, listener, if you want to check that out.
Oh.
I also don't know if he's being serious, but I do believe him. I do. Yep. Anoyo Troop. Pronounce Anoyo Troop, not trout with a P, because fish don't disco. These are all direct quotes. These are not my jokes. Leo got jokes. Hedonis is pronounced Hedonis. No, there is no letter R anywhere near his name. He is subtweeting someone. Heartthrob. I didn't think that one was complicated. I didn't think crescendo is complicated, but Leo Google searched the pronunciation of crescendo to make sure.
I mean, we had a whole argument about prescience for like the entire last expansion. So, because there were enough people that called it pre-science.
It's true. It's true.
But then we did science, and now that period is over, so it can't be.
Right. So I don't blame him for being extra careful with words that you should be able to pronounce, but maybe not.
I guess zh sounds are kind of tricky. Like crescendo, prescience.
Well, I think prescience, the question is like, is it a sh sound?
Well,
Or
it
is
doesn't have a dash.
It Prescience would be the other pronunciation, which I assume is wrong.
Yeah, I guess.
I assume is wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up.
That one might be
Anyways.
even more up for debate.
I'm not debating it, so it's not. And also, Pozic is called Pozic, and specifically tagged this is a rare and call-out post. Who calls it Pozic? It's not. That's not. His name is Pozic.
It makes sense because you would strike a Pozic, right? For the picture. Oh, he's the audio engineer, not the.
He's the audio.
Never mind.
Yeah. No.
So
This
it
is
does
how you
make
pronounce it. I'm positive. So. All right. And finally, Matt London, the Matt London, on twitch.tv/the Matt London. He has 73 followers, and you should go fix that, listener, because he just tweeted the other day, he just decided to start up his Twitch stream and stream the Rokara Book of Mercenaries with dev commentary. He was the lead narrative design on the Book of Mercenaries. There's a VOD, 2.5 hours, where he just says what was happening and drops all sorts of game design nuggets of lore. He's up to 74 followers. Good job, Twitch chat. You all should go check out the VOD and follow it. And Matt, if you're listening, you should export this to YouTube so it doesn't get automatically archived, and by archived I mean deleted, by Twitch in 14 days. So
Right.
just just make your YouTube or link your YouTube, just click the export button, just save it, or even just highlight it so we have this. But really, really cool VOD, behind the scenes look that we don't normally get. Strongly recommend going to check it out. 2.5 hours. Really cool. So yeah. And I think that's all the news that's not esports news.
Which implies the existence of esports news.
There is esports news.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did so in the post-science section, we'll cover that. Also known as tournaments.
It's the Grand Tournament!
So it is, in fact, April, which means that we have gone through January, February, and March, which means that we know the competitors for both the next Masters Tour and the next Lobby Legends tournament. We also know the dates for those, which was something that was not necessarily known before then, and some folks were starting to get anxious, especially if they had to request time off work if they have day jobs, which most people would, given that there aren't enough tournaments to make Hearthstone a full-time job anymore. So we do know that the Masters Tour for Standard will be April 22nd and 23rd, and the Battlegrounds Lobby Legends Spring Championship will be May 27th and 28th. So pencil those into your calendars now. The competitors for Standard will be, for Americas, will be UEQ, I guess. I'm not familiar with them. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or not. From Canada, McBanterface from the US, Gamer RVG from the US, and Me Smile from Canada. Europe will be Pocket Train from the UK, Meaty from the UK, Rekvam from Croatia, and Wolder from Ukraine. APAC will have Surrender from Korea, Hemlock from Korea, Gyu from Korea, and Tansoku from Japan. And then the 4 wildcard participants are going to be Yarla from the Czech Republic, Casey from Germany, Saudi from Sweden, and Levick from Russia. So a number of names that we know, a few names that we haven't seen before. I know Hemlock was a name that I heard a lot on some of the Watchstone streams towards the end of the month. They were, I don't know gender. They were very high on all the servers, and there were some jokes about people spending more time with Hemlock than with their families. So, that's someone that I'm glad to see got through. It'll be interesting to see them competing for the first time. And some names that Surrender's been a name that's been around for a long time. Was in GM, but it's good to see him competing again. And obviously, some of the folks like McBanterface, Gamer RVG, Pocket Train, Meaty, Rekvam, Yarla, Casey Levick, who we've been used to seeing in the circuit as well. So it'll be a nice mix of folks that we know and some new faces. Battlegrounds, for Americas will be Waterloo from the US, Peter Babbitt from the US, WTY Bill from the US, and Lee from the US. So an all-American, an all United States American contingent for Battlegrounds. Europe will have XQN from Belarus, Oliek from Belgium, Goddammit from Russia, and Tume from Finland. APAC will have Penginsan from Japan, Matsuri from Japan, Arekusu from Japan, and Yanase from Japan. And the wild cards are also all from Japan. Tsura, Satellite, Alutemu, and Shirousa. So Alutemu, we know him from Standard, so he's made a transition over to Battlegrounds. But yeah, so half of the competitors in Battlegrounds from Japan, all of APAC and all the wild cards. That is quite impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any thoughts on any of this? I talked for a while, but any thoughts from either of you on either of these, or?
Standard seems like it's got it rewarded good players as we expected. It also rewarded a lot of time investment. BG's, I'm not an expert here, but 8 names from Japan is not what I expected, and I have a lot of respect for their competitive scene over there, which it seems to be extremely competitive given these results.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to watching both of these events.
Yeah.
Just watching.
But
well, we'll see. I mean, I'll be watching no matter what.
That is true.
What exactly my perspective is watching remains to be seen.
Well, maybe we should talk about the things that they might be playing in that event on April 24th. As in the things that we played over Wednesday.
Okay, we could do that.
So all of us got to do theory crafting this time, which was fantastic. We kind of had different time spreads. I ended up having to dip out of the first segment a little early to make it to Seder, and then I did another 3-hour stream after I got home from that.
Of course you did.
From 9 to midnight.
Yeah, they were way more flexible with the time slots. In the past, you had to pick one 6-hour spot, and you could log in early to load up decks. That was a recent thing they allowed us to do, but otherwise, you logged in at the beginning of that slot, you logged out at the end. Now they were just just play. You should lean into one of those slots, but also you can just log in early if you're in the later slot, or stay on later if you're in the early slot. And yeah, you can log in early to build decks, and just whatever. It was really cool how they pulled back a lot of the restrictions and also stopped trying to get in the way of it. It's you're going to want to play all day. Go do that and make some content. Just go ahead.
Yeah. I think if not for Seder, I would have played just 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Nonstop.
It would have been very hard to pull myself away if I didn't have to go immediately change and then run to my parents' house as soon as I close the stream. So, yeah. And
that's because the cards are so cool. I mean, I always am excited whenever new cards come out, of course. But I think Leo really nailed it with this set. Part of it is we haven't had a Hearthstone original themed set in some time. We've gotten a lot of WoW, which is fun, but having not played a ton of it, it's nice to return to that very Hearthstone-iness of the regional content every once in a while.
Yeah, it just feels like I mean, not that they're constrained by the WoW material, because they find ways to make it their own, but it always feels like when they take a setting and kind of make it their own, it's just kind of they're unleashed with their creativity and they can really go in a direction, and that's what I love. I love those sets the most, and this really just knocked it out of the park. Absolutely. I remember the last couple times Hat saying, oh yeah, well 6 hours went by and it was nothing, and I'm and it was exactly that, right? My stream was over, I'm I can't believe it's 6 o'clock already. How did 6 hours go by? And I other than the fact that I was very aware that I didn't eat lunch because I didn't have time, because I had only taken the afternoon off, so I went straight from a meeting into my stream and didn't have any time to eat lunch. So I just made do with like a couple of like beef jerky sticks over the course of the 6 hours. But
You gotta have some kind of nut in
Yeah.
a jar next to your desk, so it's like very filling. You can just snack.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I was. I mean, I've never done a stream longer than 3 hours, or for like 4 hours maybe. So I had no idea how to do that. So
I feel like there's a relatively lucrative business opportunity for a streamer branded nut product with implications that are somewhat obvious and I will leave to Blizzlet to explore. I feel like there's money to be made there.
I just have the Costco stuff
Mm.
because it's quite a bit.
But you know where I'm going with this, and you know it would
Yes.
be financially successful.
I suppose.
So
Yeah.
you could just make a brand called D's and call it a day.
It would be like DEE would be a person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyways, we're not. This is for Blizzlet. This is Blizzlet time. Time and place for everything, Steven. It's called Blizzlet. So either way, yeah, protein on the go is vital. But I'm glad you had such a good time, and welcome to your first theory crafting black hole of time, where that's just how that goes. And there are just so many things to try. I tried 23 decks, and I got nowhere near doing everything I wanted to do. I played 0 audio amplifier decks. I didn't really play anything that went past turn 8, as one might expect. Well, there were a few things. So I got the press invite, and with the press invites, they send out some decks. I was like, here, try these different things out. And I didn't know this until later. They're built by Deck Tech. And he built this Mage Abomination with 1 Pyroblast and Mana Storm and every stall card possible in the game to replay maximum number of
God.
solid alibis and blizzards. And my co-host Joss loves it. I had no idea that she was a Dirty Rat Doomsayer gamer, but I found out when we were playing that she was super into it. And it was fascinating that chat was, I would guess, given the trend of my content, probably about 70% revulsion and 30% sickos going, yes! And as Jay Couric mentioned in chat, who said, I don't know if I can keep watching, he said, everyone who was left in chat loved what was going on. So, really entertaining.
You should have just sent all those people over to me because I wasn't playing any decks that intended to win before turn 10.
I routinely did that. I played 1 game of Priest the entire stream. It was an overheal Priest. I barely won in top deck mode, and it said, all right, if you're here for slower Priest gaming, do I know the person? And Edel, you were whoever I sent for the weird bruise, because I was playing mostly things that claimed to be bruised and then hit people in the face. Which was tremendously fun. I don't know. So we'll start with
Warrior was one of my best.
So tell us about that. You start with that. Tell us about your favorite decks, what surprised you, and I want to hear about Warrior. I want to hear about it because the vibe that I got overall from a lot of people that I talked to was that it really was not that bad.
Yeah, the menagerie stuff I think works quite well. You're running powerful neutrals as well. You have the amalgams because they hit every creature type. You have the party animal that buffs everything +1/+1 or each of your tribes. And then the draw spell really felt Battle Rage-esque a decent amount of the time because amalgams are smart and always give you something that you don't already have. So I definitely had times where this drew me, 4 cards, which Battle Rage was when Enrage felt good. And I worked with World 8 on the list, so I had a little help in making it pretty good. And, he, of course, forced me to cut some of the more questionable things that I would otherwise have included and include the good Enrage Warrior cards. And it was this interesting hybrid between Enrage Warrior and Menagerie. And so, sometimes you had the weapon, infused weapon hands or
Imbued
used
axe.
Anima Extractor. Right.
Yeah.
And you went off with Imbued Axe, right? That's kind of snowball can still happen. And sometimes you were doing some of the more menagerie stuff. And let me tell you, that rush minion,
Power
it's
slider.
+1/+1 for
He goes
each.
up to 11. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had some really huge power sliders. I had some very juiced 1 amalgam bands, not just from the 1 copy I ran in the deck, but also, you'll discover 1 amalgam band off of the Nightmare Amalgam. Not Nightmare Amalgam. Whatever.
Amalgam of the Deep.
Amalgam of the Deep. And was consistently a Wind Fury Rush something. Like you get so many tribes from your amalgams that those things that count per tribe for the game stack up very quickly.
Yeah, I played. Someone in my chat got they asked you for the list and sent it over. I played a few games with it, and I was surprised at like how big Power Slider got in a hurry. And it's like, oh, this card is like, because I think I had it in. I had tried like a Taunty Menagerie list that wasn't working so well. And then Power Slider was just kind of like because everything that all the minions I were playing were like 4, 5, 6 drops. And so like Power Slider is like a 1/1, like, okay, well that's not great. But like in the tempo based list, it got big, and Rowdy Fan across the board.
Oh,
that is
all-star card. There were a few things that I was like, oh wait, if I cut this thing, well then I don't meet the 10 card requirement anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, Rowdy Fans, we'll just put those in. It almost didn't matter what kind of deck, because Rowdy Fan is just incredible.
It's a cold blood, basically. I mean, it's a cold blood with a body.
Right.
So.
I like this card because of the things that you both said. Because of those things.
I would not be surprised if it goes to 3 attack or something. If it's just
you nerf the health. It's
incredibly.
Yeah, 3 mana 1/5s. We have still not learned this lesson. So.
Yeah, I guess
they just put Evil Miscreant back. It's maybe we're unlearning a lesson. I don't know. I don't know if this card needs a nerf. This is my top performer for the whole stream because of the decks I like playing. And the card that worries me the most about the upcoming format is Frostworm's Fury, which is particularly good about what this card does. But it's 3 mana 1/5 Quilboar neutral. Battlecry, choose a minion, has +4 attack while this is alive. It has 4 attack with charge, which is awesome. And then also, it is a 5 health minion by itself. And if you have a party animal in your deck, you are probably not running other Quilboar. You're running amalgams, which will take a different tribe. So if you have this in your hand, it is getting buffed. It is often a 3 mana 6/6, which is a lot. And I saw some wacky experiments. Edelweiss, I am certain you tried to Sathino with this. I am 100% certain you tried to.
No, I didn't. I didn't think of that. It's too much mana, because Abusive Sergeant is cheaper. But I don't know.
It is. Is Abusive Sergeant staying in standard? I think it is.
I think so.
Thought so. Like I get that you get more attack, but
the problem is both numbers are bigger.
Right.
Both the plus number and the number in the in the upper left corner. Those are.
I have no idea if it's good. It seemed like the sort of thing that you would do. But I'm just playing this and hitting any minion I can with it, and even if this is 3 mana 1/5 Battlecry deal 4 once, it's good enough. And often it's more than that because they have to trade into the other minion or try and trade into this, and trading into this is very difficult because it has 5 base health, which is a large number, and it was a 2/6 for me more than it was a 1/5 because I played a lot of party animal decks. I don't know how often this is going to happen, but it's enough.
Does it count as alive if it goes back to your hand?
You don't. No, stop it.
Okay. Look, I wasn't sure if you could shadow step it or not.
You can, but
the aura goes away. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
We have plenty of things to shadow step this set. Don't you worry. You worry.
Oh, I know that I did not have a proper list, but that deck was super fun as well.
Rhyme Spinner, yeah.
Just combo things. The coolest thing was killing people with MC Blingtron into Beatboxer, because that is the sequence, right? You make them take 1 extra damage on everything, and then it's so fitting. Then you Beatboxer takes the mic, and he just wins the rap battle. Beatboxer is the
game, is what you're saying.
Combo deal 4 damage randomly split amongst enemies. If they don't have anything in play, it's just all going face. So that doubles to 8.
8 mile. Deals 8 mile damage.
Yep.
Oh.
So, I had a couple of games that I ended by, playing and bouncing Beatboxer while my opponent had a broken microphone, and that was fun. I don't know if it was the way I built it. It felt a little feast or famine. Maybe I wasn't mulliganing right. I basically had like concoctions plus combo things. And there would be times where it just felt hard to get going because I wasn't on coin and so I couldn't easily combo Elven Minstrel. So I think I needed to find a way to like fit more like fit prep in there and other cheap things alongside the concoctions. So I'm sure someone will figure that out.
Yeah, it's the thing to figure out is why do that instead of Miracle, and hopefully the answer is because they nerfed Miracle. But we didn't see much of it because remember, for theory crafting, there is a 10 card from the new set minimum. So anything you saw on the stream might be good for gauging interactions, but not for gauging power level.
Right.
Yeah.
Please do not take any results from the stream as indicative of what will happen on the ladder, because the only time that theory crafting streams have been indicative of what happens on ladder is also when things in theory crafting streams are busted. And I cannot remember that happening since Scholomance, where Druid was the thing that looked really good because it was the best deck with new cards and then stuck around and ended up being really good. But usually...
Phylactery Warlock was that way too.
that did not translate to immediate or sustained standard success.
They nerfed a bunch of things pretty quickly.
They nerfed
That
Rod,
deck.
right?
Yeah.
They nerfed
Well,
Rod.
I mean, Rod was busted, right? So
Rod was doing a lot of things.
yeah.
So I'm gonna say that Rod should have been nerfed, and they didn't even move that fast on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the thing being mentioned in chat is correct. Madman brings up the John Bray Shadow Step combo, which was very clearly unintended, where you could do with Bran and Importer and Infinite Shadow Steps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was moved upon very quickly because it would have been the next Turtle Mage in a really unpleasant play pattern. But otherwise, theory crafting streams are not indicative of what you're going to see on ladder. We were missing. I saw basically no Frostworm's Furies. Basically none of the old Death Knight decks because they're all Martial Lich King and Path of Arthas cards and core cards. They're not new, so you can't really play them. No Miracle Rogues, which I think at high levels of play will be significant. I did play...
Though it will have to change, though, because Mailbox Dancer goes away.
It only loses Mailbox Dancer and Edwin.
And
That's all it
Cutlass.
loses.
Cutlass,
And
big
Cutlass.
deal. But
Yeah,
it's...
They'll
it's not
find a
nothing.
couple cards to mix in. Yeah.
It's not nothing, but remember that for most of its time, it only played one Dancer. Most of the time, it only played one. So, yeah.
Yes. With the nerf
It's-
to Draka, I don't see how she's runnable without Mailbox Dancer.
Well, you
I'm
have
sure
the
there's
Record
some.
Scratcher, right?
Record Scratcher kind of sucks, though. That card's pretty... Every time I saw it, it was awful.
Yeah.
Like, you
I don't know.
could...
I didn't see much Rogue. And the Rogues that I did see were people trying to play Thief Rogue. Like, I played against WTY Bill playing a Renethal Thief Rogue.
Oh,
And I was
God,
just like, why? Like, why? I came here to avoid this. Like, why are we doing this?
So, my favorite rogue deck that I played was actually from, I think JT Snow built it from our Discord. It was Pirate Weapon Rogue, where Instrument Tech goes and gets Swordfish, and then you play all the weapon buffing cards, including, like, Air Guitarist,
Oh,
to give it an
no.
extra durability, and the
I was
new...
worried about this.
So, it was damagey. It was not... There was no Cloak of Shadows in the deck. Right.
Right.
So there was no point where I just said you can't touch me, but it was powerful. It did a bunch of damage, and the new harmonic hip hop, dissonant hip hop, where it flips between deal a damage and give your weapon 3 attack, or deal 3 damage and give your weapon 1 attack. Both halves were good. The new flip floppy cards are actually like both halves are good, so they're a lot more interesting than the old ones were. Mic drop, draw 2 cards, finale, give your weapon +2 attack. If you ever hit that, it was really strong. It was an interesting deck that played better than I expected it to. So, I know you two were worried, but I think Rogue's going to be all right. I think we're going to be all right.
Well, should we talk about the other deck that everybody was worried about? The Fires Tony Warrior?
So
Uh,
I
we
have something to
can.
say on that, and it is that definitely fell under the category of really impossible to make under the deck restrictions. And so I do think it gets significantly more possible without that restriction. I don't want to say more viable because there are other things that we're also suffering under the restriction that will get better. But the biggest thing is that Warrior and especially any kind of controlling warrior, like you had to run the Rifts, and the Rifts weren't great. They were okay. They were like
They weren't
maybe
terrible.
but not a package you wanted to be running in a deck that is just full control plus Tony Fires.
Yeah.
Like you got some card draw out of them, but as soon as you get into later turns, and particularly if you don't have as many cards in hand, it becomes harder to hit finales, which makes them so much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was basically like, no, I really would rather be having like Acolyte of Pain and Slam and like, I don't know, Pyro, like so many other things besides Rifts to just draw a bunch of cards and clear boards and stuff. And you weren't able to really do that, so you lost even to aggressive decks.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is also going to revolve around like what the control tools are, right? Like, and the control tools for Warrior, as I found out when I tried to play that Menagerie Taunt Warrior, are not great.
Well,
And-
and that's what I
yeah.
mean. Like you can run more options, more of them. You can run like location plus execute, right? And the location also goes well with Acolyte of Pain. So there are certain things that
Yeah.
you couldn't fit in because you had to run Rifts or Rifts, and you will be able to put those in. So
Yeah.
I still think this is going to be tried day one once you basically this is the only new card is Tony. And the weapon.
People will try to get it out of their system quickly, and I think somebody might hit, but I don't. It doesn't seem like it was there. And I did play against it with that Menagerie Taunt Warrior, and they got it off like close to on curve. They got
you
the whole
killed them.
thing to go. Well, I was playing a slow deck, so I didn't kill them, but I traded a heavy plate and got the other copy of Fires and played that. So then they played the
So-
Steam Cleaner and both decks went away.
That is pretty funny.
And by the way, when that animation goes off, that takes forever.
The Steam Cleaner?
Yeah. Well, I was playing a Renathal deck too, so it was
It's
just
card by
like,
card. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So like, I was like done with my turn. My deck was still burning. It wasn't done.
Wow.
Luckily, it didn't wait. I didn't have to wait for it all to happen, but
Oh,
it was
no.
just like going in the back. It's like when somebody goes into a stream and like drops like 100 gift subs and the notifications are just going off forever. That's basically what it was like, except with cards.
Very good parallel. Yeah, it
Oh,
just keeps
gosh.
like it happens in the background and you forget that you've already acknowledged it and you look over and keep seeing things happening. You can still play your cards. You can end your turn, take game actions. Just the whole time there's this extra animation on the side of like, look at this thing that you didn't put in your deck and never will get to have. Like, okay. My experience playing against it was when it was Druid, I murdered them and it wasn't close, and so that means I don't think the deck will be viable, because even when you go off, you lose. So
Yeah.
I agree, Edel, that when it has access to whatever cards it wants, it will be better, but it looked so awful when I faced it that I don't really care. I'm not worried about this. This cannot beat Druid ever. This cannot beat Druid.
It depends on how quickly they can do it, right? Once you can run all the draw things, if you are consistently like doing the thing on 7, we'll see. And we just have to see how effective the draw package is going to be. But I expect it's like you include Slam, you absolutely have Acolytes, maybe even you run Thalnos, like whatever draw you can fit in.
So
This is Tickus Warlock, right? I mean, that's basically what this is.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going slow, you will make the slow decks very annoyed, and the fast decks will just run over you. That's probably what it's going to. Because if you're just trying to sit there and draw and you're not addressing the
I think
board,
it's not necessarily the fast decks will run over you, but it's like the fast decks, if they line up with your removal, it doesn't matter how they lose, right? Because they lost to the removal.
right.
And-
I mean, because like if you can play Tony and Fires and not die, you already won. You don't need the effect to go off.
So that's what happened when I was playing into it with, I was playing a low curve Menagerie Warrior. They ran me out of stuff, and then they did the thing when I had one card in hand and I lost. But when I was Druid, I had an Astlor still in hand, I had a full hand of Druid cards. It's whatever. And so the turn that they went off on turn 7, they did Tony Fires on 7, but I had stuff in play, including a taunt. So I just let the Tony live and went all face. They couldn't kill the Tony. I drew a Sire Denathrius. And then I
Oh
killed them. So you have to be able to deal with the threats in hand, and Warrior
Mhm.
kind of can't do that. And if I'm playing a 5-mana Warrior Game Ender, it is Black Rock and Roll, which is a very real card. And there are a
What?
lot. Yes. There were a lot of people that posted lists that they loved of Black Rock and Roll Warrior. They all had Trench Stalker in them.
Yeah.
McBanterface said
I-
it was his favorite deck of Theory
Wow.
Crafting.
Because
Jay Alexander enjoyed it.
Because they
I
play
could
Black
not
Rock and Roll. They buff up the minions. Then they play Lorthamar Theron and double the Black Rock minions.
You,
And then
okay.
and then they play Trench Stalker, and Trench Stalker's like a million, and it just kills them.
Right. I could not make that deck with the deck building restriction.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what their lists were.
I mean, it's also very draw dependent, right? If like the Black Rock and Roll's on the bottom of the deck, you're gonna have a harder time. Like you're relying on
Right.
2 legendaries that need to be played in a particular sequence most of the time.
Well, I don't think the Lorthamar is necessary. I think that was a meme that Language Hacker was doing so he could attack for 34. Jay Alex was not playing it. Was just
Yeah.
playing Last Stand and things like Olgra and Silver Fury Stalwart and Ramornia and then Black Rock and Roll, along with the new weapon Kodo High Drum Kit, which is really strong.
You just said Remornia, so Edel perked up. But
No, I'm looking at the list and it only has 6 new cards.
Is that correct? Well, moving on.
So I think some people may have considered core cards
Okay.
Oh,
like Armor Vendor to count, and
Yeah.
I don't think it does. Right, Armor Vendor and Ziliax.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
know.
I was trying to do this with like that Menagerie Taunt Warrior too as like a secondary win condition if like the control stuff didn't get there. Well, then I'll just have a Trench Stalker. But like the first game I played it, I drew both Trench Stalkers in my opening hand, and so that was the end of that plan, right? So
Well, I found Bannerface's list and he put the riffs in, so this qualifies. This is okay.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
still said he had a good time with it. Kodo High Drum Kit, the 4-mana 3/2 weapon that deals 1 when it dies and gets better whenever you gain armor. That card was really strong. It does a lot of it's a pretty big AOE if you want it to be.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
surprised by it.
I did feel it was a little awkward that like one of the ways you would want to ramp it up is Razorfen Rockstar, and of course you're gonna kill your own Razorfen Rockstar when you
Yeah.
do that. But
yeah.
It cleared my board a couple times and it was a lot better than I expected. So I think that we could see something there. Overall, Warrior felt all right. Other classes that we played. So Death Knight. I know at least 2 people here played Death Knight. No, wait, all 3 of us did. We all did. I mean, we all played most of the classes, but Death Knight, I know that you 2 were
Well,
excited
we were
by.
playing it at the same time.
That's-
You and I.
You beat me with pigs. It was not kosher.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I uncaged the cage head, and yeah, I was kind of worried about it. I was basically playing like a bad version of I was like Unholy Frost, and it was not doing what I wanted it to do. I actually had tweaked it before that because I had the I had Show Fallen Barons in there, and I'm like, oh, I don't want I forget what the 5-drop is that gets the random death rattle, but I don't want that getting the card draw death rattle like ever. I want that to get the cage head death rattle. So I ended up taking that out right before I ran into Hat. And the game went back and forth for a while, and I kind of ran down to Steam, and then I top decked the cage head, and I still had 2 minions on board. So I played the cage head in the middle, and I death growled, and I started trading, and all of a sudden I had a bunch of 9/9s that were going face, and I realized I missed lethal after that game because I had 2 of the 5 drops that gain the death rattle and play it, and I blanked on what they did, and I played a cover artist instead of one of them. But it was a lot of 9/9s that were coming out and going face. Well, at the second batch went face. I had to trade with the first ones just to not die, but I guess I didn't because they had taunt. So I probably didn't, but I was kind of panicking because I was at like 2. So, and I needed to trade to stay on brand, I guess.
And Edel, what did you try with Death Knight? I assume a bunch of stuff.
just Rainbow.
Uh,
Oh wait, I did have a full blood aggressive deck.
hand buff.
of. I wasn't running blood tap, but it was triple blood, and I had like sour fangs. You can intentionally hurt yourself. It was life manipulation, basically.
Mm.
Just I think I still had like one of the soul stealers, but it was very much more centered around like you beat aggressive decks because you have life steal minions and they can't handle that. And
I mean,
so
you can just say because you have Screaming Banshee into No Muncher, and that's
Yeah.
enough.
Screaming
Yeah.
Banshee is a card.
Whew.
That is like if you're any sort of a board-based deck, it is a pain in the butt to deal with that. Because every time that
Yeah.
you trade into it, you just make more things that you need to deal with.
I am deeply nervous about playing against this card all the time because it's going to solo all the things I like to do.
Yeah, it's a very good card. And I also, of course, had it in Rainbow. So Rainbow gets to benefit similarly from Screaming Banshee plus No Muncher. I kind of think my version of Rainbow might end up cutting CNE.
Oh no.
Like, cut the Reborn location and CNE and just not have to worry about spending corpses.
The Reborn location is kind of not good. It's kind of not a great card.
Yeah.
I generally felt good about it, but I don't think it's worth a slot if I'm trying to cut down to 30 cards. Because what I did for Rainbow was just like, I don't want to think about it, so I'm just gonna do Renethal and do it. And it kind of worked, sort of in the vein of like a XL Hunter, right? Where it's just like, well, yeah, you're more cards, but the density and like the draw is good and you're aggressive, so it doesn't matter. And it sort of was effective in that way. I had a lot of threats, but I think I might end up just wanting to shave it down to 30 and cut. Honestly, I think it would be CNE, the Reborn location, and all of my Discover effects.
Mm.
And then it would just be like all the things that kill things, it's because I had Rag and Alex and Patchwork and Syndragosa in there as top end as well, at which point CNE isn't really necessary as a finisher. And it just felt like I had to intentionally discover things to spend corpses for CNE, right? Because otherwise it was just Defrost and the Reborn location that was spending corpses.
Yeah. I think where I'd probably go is Malignant Horror. Feels like that's the card that you use if you want to spend a bunch of corpses because
Yeah.
it's you can hand
It
buff
keeps
it or
doing it.
something, and and all the copies scale exponentially because you eat 4 corpses the first turn, then the next turn you eat 8, and then so on and so forth, and you just keep going.
Sure.
That's probably the main way I'd want to look into it, especially if you're able to do hand buffing stuff with it because you can just make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though the Reborn location's great if you want to play Dispossessed Soul, because that thing never leaves the board. It just sits around.
Yeah.
So
And that was something I enjoyed trying with Priest and Death Knight, is using Dispossessed Soul while having 2 locations. And that's, cool to get extra copies of certain things. It's the only way you're going to get an extra copy of CNE.
yeah. Yeah, I like Dispossessed Soul and Priest. Matt at Arms was calling my my Priest deck Real Estate Priest because it was just full of location. But yeah, the
Why don't we
Dispossessed
just talk
Soul and
about
Priest
Priest
is super.
now? Why don't we just do that now?
Just get it out of the way. I played a lot of Control Priest, as one would expect, just because I'd kind of went back and forth with Tic Tac a little bit before the stream too, and he and I both kind of landed on similar things. Mine was, obviously tailored. He wasn't doing theory crafting, so his was more of just like what would be a day 1 deck, and I had to move some things into get to 10 cards. So it was, which isn't hard because a lot of the Priest cards are very good in Control Priest, and the only one that I really put in because I needed to was Power Chord Synchronize, and that card surprised me because that gave me extra Blackwater Behemoths and also made the Blackwater Behemoths heal me more. So that felt okay.
Mhm.
I was not expecting to be surprised by it, and every so often you'll take your opponent's minion, or you'll just get another copy of something, whatever. But and the new control cards like Harmonic Pop is amazing, really really good, especially against the druids that are running the weapon that put out a bunch of 5/5s, and as long as you kind of have a 50/50 if it's going to be on the right turn or not. But if it's on the dissonant turn, those just go away. Like there was one game that I played that had like Dr. Boom and 2 buffed up boom bots, and then like 4 5/5s, and all that was left was the 7/1, which at that point I could deal with. And Fight Over Me,
Ugh.
that's a card.
Fight
That
Over
a
Me is
card.
crazy.
Yeah.
I saw
I
it compared
know
to
it's gonna be
Hysteria,
gross.
but getting to choose both targets is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And I got blown out by this card more than once. The worst that ever happened to me was I had Astalor 5 and Astalor 8 in play, and they were able to deal 3 damage to Astalor 8 and then play Fight Over Me.
Oh, yeah.
And they kicked my Astalor that game.
Yeah.
It was cool to see, but as the recipient, it was not what I'd recommend in most games of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The-
much better card than I anticipated.
Yeah, the one game where I got to utilize it was I was playing Thief. Decided you basically had to play Thief Priest in order to play Control, just in order to have a win con. So I'd already stolen 1 copy of Mr. Mukla before this, and then they had played a Mr. Mukla and a Silverback Patriarch from Barrel of Monkeys, and the Mr. Mukla was at one health. So I just knocked them into each other, and now I had 2 Mr. Muklas. And then I was able to play that and then play Power Chord Synchronize on it. I had another Mr. Mukla. And I had just been like filling up their hand with bananas turn after turn after turn. It was, and they're also, 10/10s. So they were basically furiously playing Silverback Patriarchs to protect their face from all of the Muklas. And the Love Everlasting, it was kind of becoming a running joke because I played like, I don't know how many games and just never drew it. But I did draw it in that game with the Muklas, and I just had plenty of bananas to be able to keep it going. But like that, even when you just play it on curve, it feels really good as long as you have a way to keep it going, because like, all of a sudden, well, Light Bomb costs 4. Well, that's a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, there are times I imagine where you're just like, well, I'm not going to be able to keep this going, but I know I'm going to need a board clear earlier than turn 6. And,
right.
you
Exactly. Like
just use it in that
against
way.
an aggressive deck, it doesn't matter, right? Like if you can get access to your board clears, then it doesn't matter if it runs out, because by the time that it runs out, the only time it matters is if you're relying on Svalna to carry you in the late game, and that's a scenario where you can hold it. But it everything felt really good. And yeah, like Shadow Chord Distort too. Like there was a full board, including like 321 Quillbore from Zoc, and yeah, I just dealt with it. And it was and Distort's just like, you forget you kind of forget when it's in hand. I mean, -5 is a lot, but even just getting the attack to go to 0, like those very often those things from Zoc will be low health, a low attack, but extremely high health, and then Distort just sends them to 0, and then they're gone. And
I admit I was not thinking of Anubricon when I was looking at Zoc.
yeah, I wasn't either.
I was just like, I mean, like maybe you get 6/6s if you maximize upgrading your hero power and you do it in the same turn. And nope, Anubricon.
Anubricon, Underking, Underking Zoc was what I saw a bunch. We'll talk about Druid in a second. I will say Priest seems like a pretty big home run this set. The only thing I'm not as sure about right now is Overheal. And in general, the more minion-focused priests that are not Shadow. However, Getmeowth, who knows the way to my heart, built an Overheal Naga Priest to be able to play Wigs, which might help you meet the Handmaiden requirement, because I did the full Control F Overheal Priest, and I ran out of cards very quickly, and like I had a really good board for the first 4 turns, and I limped over the finish line with it when I played it once, but it felt like it would not be good enough. The Naga component might be the way to go.
Yeah, I think if you have to play Mana Geode, it's not good enough, right? Like if that's
Right.
gotta be in your
Yeah.
deck.
I took
Yeah.
out a few things and tried to make it so Animate Dead was more of a card, which so like there might have been once or twice where I was able to animate Dead a Heartthrob and have another wave, but it sort of felt like if I was against something where I could just snowball, then you can go nuts. And like it can be very hard to deal with Heartthrob if as like another board deck if you don't already very much have board. And but if they're playing something slower and like actually have a couple of board clears, yeah, the reload was just not there. So
Yeah.
I'll
And-
let other people work on that one.
And I mean, like Overheel's an evergreen keyword, right? So it might
Right,
be
yeah.
okay if it's not there this set. Like they obviously did go very hard on it, and like Hedonist
Mhm.
may be something that you could fit into like a Control-y Priest.
Right, yeah.
But like if you're gonna go like doing an all Overheal deck, I think, or like an Overheal focus deck, it might need another set or at least the mini set in order to get there. But they're going to be adding to that throughout the year. It's not going to be like one and done, like so like so like some like finale would be, right? So that's okay if that's going to be the case.
And I think a bunch of the cards are just solid to put in something slower anyway. Like I actually faced Theo, I believe. And Theo was running a slower priest, but it still had Heartthrob and it had, the location, some of those other things. And, Heartthrob plus Cannibalize on something pretty decent size is like pretty gross. So maybe I was like confused because like, wait, this is Renathal, but has Heartthrob? I'm like, what? Just went against how I perceived building the Overheal deck in my head. But the cards on their own, some of them are quite powerful. So
Yeah. If you just play Crimson Clergy and heal it for 3 mana, like, it doesn't seem all that different from what we used to do with Acolyte of Pain, and it comes down earlier
Right.
in the game, so it's
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes it, but it's something you can do. So people are going to try it. As far as Druid, it's we were talking about Zoc Foxsnout. He was much better than I expected because of the context of a Nubricon, Underking, Zoc. Make 2 121 taunts, 3 6/6s, and a 7/7. Numbers. So, numbers good. It's not game ending the same way that Astor was in that the game does not literally end. But if you cannot beat 42 health and taunt, then it might as well. Just takes a little longer. So there are ways around it, but it's still a very powerful late game turn. And you can do that on as soon as you get 8 mana, right? Let's
Yeah.
see.
if you innervate it out,
Yeah,
you can do it.
Yeah,
on-
because well, they
You
give
need
you 6,
one
right?
armor?
The Underkings give you 6.
Yeah,
And they
so a
cost 7.
Nubricon
You
sets you
need
to
2 armor.
8. Underking
need
goes
2
down
armor.
to 1, then up to 7. Second Underking you play go down to 0, go up to 6, and Zoc costs 7. You need 1 armor.
or stuff to trade into.
Sure, so the Underkings die. Okay.
Wait, the
Yeah.
the Underkings cost 7, and they give you 6, right?
Correct.
Uh,
but
yep.
if
So
they
each Underking costs you 1.
right,
A Nubricon
So
gives
you're
you 8.
going to you need 1 armor to play the Zoc. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got you.
right,
I get it.
or trade an Underking.
Yep.
So
So,
Trade.
this is just a lot of stats on the board, and 42
Yeah.
health and taunt. It was more than a lot of the decks I was playing could reasonably deal with, or even unreasonably deal with. So it's something we're gonna see. The overall hero power package seemed like the sort of thing that we're gonna be glad is popular because it was fairly mid. It was, as anticipated, not a good idea to spend your entire mid-game hero powering after you play a small utility minion. That is not how you win games of Hearthstone. And Druid does not have Scale of Onyxia, and that was sorely felt. Guff 2. Nourish is back to being a kind of mediocre card. You can't split it in half. You can't ramp past 10 unless you play Audio Amplifier, and it's not even that great if you do. No Scale of Onyxia for the board clears. You have to deal with things as they come. And so the best thing that I saw to do was to just make a board where you don't have to deal with things. You just hopefully ramp and hit this. But the hero power stuff was like, it was okay. Timber Tambourine was actually pretty decent. Summer Flower Child was very good. The 5 mana 4/5. It's got a battle cry of draw 2 cards that cost 6 or more, and finale they cost 1 less. Makes the deck a lot more consistent, and the mana reduction does absolutely matter. So we will see this card for sure. It is better than Nourish in this deck. But overall, it felt kind of one tricky. And the early game is definitely shields down. But you better get them before the shields go up, because those are big shields. Big
What
shields.
I felt worked was I built it as basically aggro druid. So you're just making a bunch of boards, and then you happen to have the one that buffs your attack.
Sure.
And, Unending Swarm is still good, even if you're getting back tree answer stuff, because you just want boards. And if you get more of those, then great, you buff your attack more. And so it was just like, it was reach in a deck that otherwise wins by, like, drum circling a wide board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean,
Tempo
I-
Wildfire, right? Like the 2-1 is just a wildfire.
I don't know. Like I did pretty well with and I didn't even really have I don't even know if I had the Underkings. Like I wasn't even thinking about the Anubercon combo, but like that hero power ramps up pretty quick, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's still like 5-6 damage a turn, right? Like because if you're running like Peaceful Piper to pull out the Groovy Cats and the Free Spirits, right? Like that hero power damage ramps up pretty quickly, and you still have Rake to clear the way. And I mean, once you're
Card's
doing that, then
nuts.
you could spread the word. You could spread the word for free.
Yeah.
So and then once you get through that, if that's not enough, then once you get the Timber Tambourine down, you start building that up, and then you break that and you drum circle. Like that's also something that you can do. That's just like a lot of stats on board, and you've also gained a fair amount of armor through the hero power and through things like Harmonic Mood, or or just hero powering. When you get a couple of the procs of the Free Spirits down, it's a fair amount of armor that buys you a pretty good amount of time.
My experience so far was that in the first 2 hours or 3 hours of Theorycrafting, I saw a lot of this while people were still playing Tony and were trying out the slower decks. But as the decks got faster as time went on, because I found that to happen and I was contributing to that, it stopped being quite as relevant, because if you don't have the early Rake stuff, then you just get smacked around. And I started playing a lot of things like Outcast Demon Hunter, and Druid did not have a chance there. That was not the sort of thing they could keep up with. When you're doing single minions, when you're playing Overheal Priest, yes, I can keep up with that as the Druid. Even some of the slower Paladin decks, those were keep upable. But when it started to get to things that were trying to hit face and were good at it, or any of the Bloodlust Shaman decks, it was really hard for Druid to meaningfully keep up with go wide strategies. And it's a nice adjustment, because that's where their weakness is supposed to be, is go wide quickly.
And like the by the end of the day, when I knew what it was doing, when I was playing Control Priest, I was able to deal with it, because I knew what I needed to save, and I knew what to expect, and like the answers that I had were able to deal with a wide board. And I mean, I had a Whirlpool in the ETC just in case, so like that was kind of like the if break glass in case of emergency solution. But I knew that like they were going to have that one big wide board, and then after that was pretty much it. So if you could deal with the one big wide board as a control deck, as a control deck. No, Druid.
Oh yeah.
So like if you can,
if you can beat the rampy scaling Druid with Control Priest, I do not have a lot of faith in the Druid, because that's the matchup that Druid is supposed to beat and needs to beat in order to be viable. I do think that there's going to be some kind of top out at 8, go get an Ubercon and Zoc and kill people with that. That's probably going to be pretty effective. The full-on hero power to grind you down over multiple turns, I have a lot less faith in that approach. You might still run Groovy Cat. You might not. I don't know. But I know for sure the Anubercon Zoc thing is where I saw the most power from Druid. So let's just touch on some of these other classes here. There were a few things that stood out to me. Halveria Darkraven, the rushy minion that 4 mana 4/3 rush after friendly rush minion attacks give your minions +1 attack. This is just a Bloodlust that also deals damage. Really, 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 really good card. All the Demon Hunter stuff impressed me. Snakebite was a little awkward. That's the 2 mana 1/1 rush that it gets +1/+1 permanently for each other minion that's died that turn. It was weird that I wanted to play it to do the trades that would make it bigger. So it was just kind of awkward to sequence. I found it kind of challenging to use.
That's surprising to me because I would expect it's just like you use the security card that outcasts and makes 3 things, and then you kill 1 or 2 things, and it's large.
See, instead I played security and then killed my opponent. Because security was really good on 2 and was just really impressive all day in general. But sequencing it with Snakebite relied on me saving it, playing it later, not playing it with Halveria, and making a single large minion that my opponent then easily dealt with because all of their removal that was good against large minions had no other targets. So it ended up developing in a way, it reminded me of Queen's Guard and Naga Priest, where you'd think it would be perfect, and instead it just like, why would I bother? Because it's only good when I'm already winning by doing the powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it ends up focusing their removal after you've tightened up the board when you want to stay wide for Halveria. And Halveria was, whenever she was even just deal 4 plus 1 attack to everything else, fine, and she was almost always better than that. Really strong card, very impressed by that. I didn't try most of the weapon stuff, but Rush the Stage, Halveria, and Security, you're going to see that. Glaivetar, amazing card, just going to be played. Like, it's a 4-mana 4/2 that draws cards. The Outcast stuff worked. Finally, it worked because the best buff to that deck was removing stupid 4-mana cards from the pool.
Yeah, it was hilarious seeing people realize that their deck was, or their hand was filled with Outcast cards, and they could not make space to keep from burning off the Glaivetar because they had to play cards to make hand space, and of course that would draw them more cards off the Glaivetar. So
good props to have. Yeah, it's Outcast DH with the Rush package felt really, really strong to me, and we will see this deck. I feel very confident we will see this on ladder.
Yeah, it's fun. It looked good. It hits all the things. Yeah.
Yep. Finally it works. Feller in the Forgotten. Play Feller in the Forgotten. Oh man, his pool is ridiculous now, and like there are so many hits that if one of the cards is too expensive, chances are one of the other cards is Fierce Outsider or Wayward Sage, and you just make your Gennaro Glazesmith free. You play Fellerin and then stuff happens. It reminded me of a little Demon Hunter Jantis, like a teeny little Jantis, and it was all right.
Yeah, I ran it even in like a Relic DH and solid. I kind of built like a Relic's good stuff DH, and that felt good.
Fellerin is good stuff now. He's just 3 good cards at once. Like, and that's that's cool. The value is enough. It's a 4-set meta. Just play it. Just play it.
They're going to have to change his name because people are going to remember him now.
Finally. All right, who played the most Hunter? Who played Hunter?
I played a decent amount of Hunter, surprisingly.
Yeah, me too.
Talk to me.
I ended up making this bizarre like spell hunter with Aerosmith, and it was a pile of trash, but it got there like consistently. And it was a Naga hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was running like like the one that makes the 3/3s, and I was running Twinbro Terror Coil. I think I had a Jara in there for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the bananas and the monkeys and Aerosmith did a fair amount of work. Just being able to clear things out so that everything else could go face. Its ability didn't often go face, but it cleared out the way so that everything else could. It felt like it kind of came together. Like Barrel of Monkeys in particular, I saw that a fair amount. It's a real card, it feels like just like a bunch of 1/4 taunts sometimes is just enough to just be able to buy you time to get everything else to work.
Well, and a really nice sequence is the 1/3 Quillbore finale'd on 1 into Barrel of Monkeys on 2, so you get a 2/5 taunt immediately. And one mistake that I kept making was forgetting that certain cards were Finale and not Battle Cry. And so I was like, oh wait, why didn't my Beast get buffed? And I'm like, oh right, because it's not how the card works. Yeah. But I think that I made a similar Naga Hunter list, but I would probably want to actually take the weapon out. I think I don't really want a 4-mana weapon that just upgrades on spells.
So that weapon, I did all the work.
Mm-hmm.
I got it up to 9. I swung face. I
No.
got a light ray, and I yelled at Sidisi.
Of course.
And
It's
You got to do
With-
10 for Banjosaur. For
Banjosaur's
Elec.
not good in the deck that I'm running though, because I don't have any
Oh,
beast in
right.
it.
Yeah. Well,
with
Elec then.
Harpoon Gun and Wild Seeds, I think the weapon is just kind of not it. I think it's a false
Yeah.
flag.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need it. Naga Face Hunter has a lot of stuff now. It's
Yeah.
Aerosmith is a Naga. It's got spells. All your stuff is going to be active all the time. Like, just hit him. And the beasts are good. Mr. Mukla is a strong card. It is a 6-mana 10/10 rush. The bananas are relevant if they have a wide board and they swing back, but like you should be playing him anyways in most Hunter decks.
Yeah, and like I would just like play Aerosmith, throw 3 bananas on it, and say your turn, right?
Right.
Like it's still
Well, or
it's
even
like a
Vicious
big
Slither
threat.
Spear.
Yeah,
Right?
Slither Spear too. Yeah, like Slither Spear, Murkwater Scribe was in there to kind of help things along also. But yeah, it's like just like throwing all the bananas on the Aerosmith and makes it, a fairly big threat. That's also clearing the board a little bit. And now, okay, now you need to deal with this thing, or I'm going to keep playing spells, and you're going to have, and it's going to keep doing its thing. It's pretty scary when you can do that, and that was just effective a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So just scrolling through here, Mage. We're gonna see some light shows. Volume Up is a crazy card. This is the 4-mana. Draw 3 spells, finale, discover a copy of one. Just play this on 4. That's what you want to do. If your mage deck doesn't want to do that, play a better mage deck. You want to do this. It's just really, really strong. DJ Manastorm I didn't see as much of, but I know some people really dug it. Light Show is absolutely going to happen. Mech Mage is absolutely going to happen.
Yeah.
Cosmic Keyboard, the instrument. 2 mana 0/3. After you cast a spell, summon an elemental with stats equal to its cost. This is like 10 power. It's like a 10/10. Like, you just play this into a 3 and then a volume up, and then you do what you want, and you just have numbers, and your shields aren't quite as down as they would normally be as a mage. If you have Arcane Artificer, too, you can gain some armor while you're here.
Especially with, the early light shows not doing all that much.
Right.
If you can get a 3/3 at the same time, great. And, for a 2-mana investment, it's really solid. Just helps to not be as behind when you're doing your more resource generated plays. And
Go ahead.
so I was running a lot of the like generate arcane bolts things. So I was hesitant to put Cosmic Keyboard in, and maybe you don't end up putting those in the same deck together. But this was played against me, and I immediately was like, oh, now I'm actually not sure about running those arcane bolts because the keyboard looks really good.
Yeah, but you just hold the arcane bolts until like turn 8 anyway.
Yeah, that's also an option.
So I also didn't think of much of it when I built the deck, and I think it probably would have been better if I had it in there. I gave up on the deck after a couple games and went to go play something else because it was making my head hurt too much with the ordering and everything else. And I wanted to do something else, but it felt fine. The keyboard soloist seemed like a reasonable replacement for the Dungeoneer if you're trying to do Frozen Touch.
I mean, they're pretty different cards. It feels closer to a Guild Trader than anything else, but like, it's not bad.
But you get the 3 bodies, right? Like if you're just trying to get the 3 bodies and then you help a little bit of the spell damage along. It didn't feel like a finisher. Like you still have Egwin in the deck, but it felt like a way that you could still at least get a few bodies to be able to juice the Frozen Touch, because you do miss those 1/1 freezy elementals that you got out of the Dungeoneer, right?
So I didn't have Frozen Touch, but I generated it a lot. And I feel like there's 2 potential ways of doing the deck. One is you just go focused and you don't really have a lot of generation. You're just all about, you want Rewind to hit Light Show every time.
Yeah.
And like then you get extra copies off of the mech that copies your highest cost spell, and you can focus on that. And I think that makes playing Ramoth feel safer than the other way, but also means that you don't have access to certain like generated cards that can sometimes win you the game in other ways. Like I played with 2 mana, get 3 cost or less cards.
Vast Wisdom.
Yeah, with Vast Wisdom. And it meant that my rewinds didn't always hit, especially if I played anything out of the Vast Wisdom. But
Yeah.
so many games, the stuff I was getting out of Vast Wisdom was so good anyway. It didn't matter, right? Because I would pick up Frozen Touch even though I wasn't running it. I would pick up Solid Alibi even though I wasn't running it. Like,
Ugh.
Vast Wisdom is an insane card right now.
Oh yeah,
And-
especially in a 4-set meta where the pools are smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the play pattern I am most concerned about with cards that we saw in this theory crafting stream, Rewind, Solid Alibi. There are so many alibis, and I played against Meaty, and he generated a second Sivera, and the number of alibis. There was a game where I won where we dealt with 7 alibis. 7.
Oh.
Too many. 1 anyways. I double bloodlusted to hit him for 1 for lethal. Because I felt like it. Because he knew what he did.
Yeah, I think the other thing with the Frozen Touch build that I try to do is that it forces you to run things like Cold Case and Deathborn, which means that the audio splitter doesn't always hit the light show. Or I needed to try to get those out of my hand in order to make the audio splitter hit the light show, which meant that I was wasting a lot of time, and so it made it kind of awkward. I think if you get going to a focused light show build might make that work a little bit better. That might have also infected how I felt about it.
But we could very well see just Frozen Touch decks, right? That run Rewind and like get extra copies of Frozen Touch, because you can very easily
reinfuse them,
just be reinfusing. Like, you can go from 1 to 3 Frozen Touches really, really quickly.
I could see something like Mech Mage running Frozen Touch and Seafloor Gateway, and that's it.
That was what I built for the theory crafting.
Yep. There you go.
And it was solid. It was super good.
So we have a few classes left. We're going to hit some quick highlights here because we could tell these stories all day. But if we keep going at this rate, the set will be out by the time that we're done. For Paladin, there were 2 really big standout cards for me, and neither of them were Spotlight. Spotlight was good, not oppressive. It was fine. But it turns out taking Divine Shield off your minion that you play because it has Divine Shield makes the minion worse. So the trade-off is actually significant. Didn't always go off. One of them is Disco Mall, which, by the way, the flavor text, Disco Face. Love that. But 2 mana 2/2, Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion +1/+1, play minions well equipped to approve. Was not hard to focus this buff. You just trade with the minions before you attack with them all. You put it on something with Divine Shield, or you put it on a Liadrin, and then you win the game. It was very, very good in Liadrin. And the other card that I think, after seeing it in play, might be the strongest card in the set, or up there, Kangor Dancing King is unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
Every time he came down, I was like, what do we do now? Like, it's
Shard of the
so much
Naru,
fun.
that's what.
You stop it.
We
It's
might
so
be
much life.
seeing that Mana Thirst Silence thing.
Oh yeah, Coroner.
Coroner. We might have to, because if this guy gets going, good luck trying to do anything.
I mean,
they just
going
gain all
just
their life.
one time and hit a Noyo troop and like
Yeah.
pack it up. It's just, I
It's a lot.
felt bad, but I beat Baby Bear with this.
It's just so powerful the second it gets going. Like
Like-
Ziliax coming back doesn't look so bad anymore because Kangor's around. So he felt really, really powerful. And I
Was
saw
anybody
like,
trying this with Neptulon?
oh,
No.
Well, he doesn't give the hands lifesteal.
No,
True.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter though. If you're getting
It's-
a Neptulon out of your hand.
Just hit
For free.
Amplified Elec.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was in there.
Oh, that's giving me
All right, so
that's
we'll
giving
move
like-
on.
That's giving me
Stormborn General,
Samuro Apotheosis vibes. Ooh.
Yeah. So while Steve is thinking about that, we're gonna touch on Shaman. We talked about Rogue basically. We're gonna touch on Shaman, touch on Warlock. Shaman,
Man.
it was harder to build a Shaman deck. I do think there's some
No, it
solid
wasn't.
cards here. Okay, what'd you do?
Totems.
So the Bloodless Shaman decks that I played were all super good. I assume you had a similar
In-
experience.
Cover artist in Totem Shaman is fantastic. That is
Okay.
like exactly the use case
What's your cover?
where any of the 3 mana totems, right? Eyesore or
with Eyesore. Okay.
or the 3-mana one that makes 2 totems if it's infused.
Oh,
Like-
the party favorite totem.
Right. Or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you do it on a flame tongue, right? Like there's just so many instances where you're just happy to have another one of these totems that it felt really, really powerful there.
That makes sense. And like the board buffs are great here. You have a lot of stuff forever in this deck. I don't even know how many of the new cards I played. A lot of it felt like core made a big difference.
Mhm.
Like Flow Rider is a good card. If you're overloading discover spell from your deck, but I lost when Fino played a Pack the House against me. Inza on 5, Pack the House on 6. Hit Mr. Mukla among with a bunch of other 5-power things. I don't know if it's a deck, but I know it was a card. You know, it was enough by itself.
Well, yes, when you high roll, you tend to win those games. That is the thing that happens. But
Yeah. I
mean-
did win a game with 4 rags. I did the
Oh, the criminal lineup
ma-
thing?
yeah. So you use the weapon to discount one of the spells, and you've played in Inza, and you can go Jive, Insect, and Criminal lineup in the same turn. That was enjoyable.
I played a Jive Insect as priest, and my opponent conceded, so that card seemed pretty good.
A Shaman is very interesting right now because it still has some of the cares about spell schools, and there's only 3 fire spells and 2 frost spells.
Mm.
So if you play a Jaren scroll, like you're pretty likely to see certain things within that. You've got the Restore 8 health finale, get a 3/3 taunt one for Frost, and then you have the Cold Storage is the other Frost, and then Fire is just Jive Insect, the
It's Blazing
Geyser.
Transmutation and Scalding Geyser, right?
yeah, Blazer Transmutation Geyser. Yep. So
Yeah.
really good hits on those. Nature is like a little more broad, but I feel like a Jaren Scroll is a pretty solid card now, just because there aren't really bad hits.
Yeah. I mean, any Discover in a 4-set meta is going to get a lot better in general.
And I even think Melomania felt like a card that I wanted to pursue. Really fun, 0-mana spell. Each time you play a minion this turn, add a random shaman spell to your hand. You play Schooling in this, and then like you just got stuff. Like you just have stuff. So
It is hilarious all the ways that Schooling is good that are not fish. Like,
it's just a very efficient card. It's yeah, but Melomania, there's gonna be something there. I wasn't smart enough to figure it out during theory crafting. I was drinking my coffee, and Lepton, who made this really cool Miracle Shaman deck, I misplayed it multiple times. Metronome, by the way, is not Spirit of the Frog. You have to start with a 1 and not start with whatever you want it to be, and it will never be a 0. But there was something there. I did a lot of stuff and then lost because I didn't know what I was doing, but someone that knew what they were doing might have been able to get there. Shaman it's harder to build right now, but I don't think it's hopeless, and I'm really curious where people what people come up with. Same with Warlock, and the things that I'll say about Warlock, the fatigue cards, the self-fatigue scaling cards, felt really good to play with, really fun, and pretty decently powerful. And Festering Harp, the weapon, the instrument, 2-mana epic. Whenever your hero would take damage in your turn, you restore 2 health instead. This was a huge life swing multiple times. I was consistently impressed by it.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 3 hero powers that heal you instead of hurting you, for something like a slower Warlock, that is a really big deal.
It's 12 health.
And
It's 12.
yeah, and it's even more if you're, a little ways deep into the fatigue cards, right? And it's preventing, 3-4 damage, etc. So really incredible card. Doesn't feel oppressive, but like it does really good work.
Yeah.
I think
or if
the
you're playing
most
if you're playing the movement that does 6 to all characters, that's pretty good too to prevent that damage to yourself.
yeah. I think the most impactful use case of the fatigue cards I saw was instead of curses in Imp Warlock, where you basically get to run, the very board-based Imp lock, and rather than having the curse package in there, you run the fatigue package because they also generate imps, right? Like 4 of those 6 cards are imp cards, and then you just save the crescendos for last when you need burn. Or if you need to clear an opposing board.
Yeah,
Does Crescendo goes face?
it does.
Wait,
Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention to that. I was just using it as a board clear because I'm me. So
To all enemies. Yes,
okay.
goes face. So yeah, like the curse stuff is really going to suffer without Bran, I think, and without little Tammy, without any of the Tammys. But the fatigue stuff,
Yeah.
it's like the most important thing to me is that I really enjoyed playing with it. The cards felt fun, and they gave me more of a payoff than I was expecting immediately. The 5-drop's really good, and I don't
The
know.
soloist.
No, the Craze Conductor, where you take the fatigue damage and make that many 3/3 imps.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a Coral Keeper a lot of the time with like less work in a class that is better at dealing with a Coral Keeper. I did miss Shady Bartender a little bit, but like there was still I didn't play straight imps, but they felt like they would be fine.
Yeah, and the legendary spell felt good too. I mean, I was playing a big warlock with the slime, the Death Rattle warlock, and the movements felt pretty good. Like you can generally get one that you want on the turn that you play it, and like burning 6 cards off your opponent's deck is no joke. When you do that eventually.
Right.
But I mean, you're making the big taunt reborn. That's fine. Doing damage and healing is fine. Like doing 6 to the board and everybody is fine. Like they're all pretty good for 6 mana. Shuffle 6 cards into your deck. They felt pretty solid most of the time.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like that kind of makes its way into the imp lists as well, just because 2 of the options deal 6 to the opponent's face. So it's like a kind of expensive fireball, and then if they're not dead, you can also go get the other stuff later because that deck still draws a lot of cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, even if it's not, I mean, if you're running, I don't know how many of the demon buffs you're running, but I guess you're losing Shady Bartender, so that's going to make it a little bit harder. But I mean, even like the thing that's coming out of the Taunt Reborn, that's an imp. Not an imp, it's a demon. So if that's relevant. But yeah, I mean, like you sometimes just needed a board clear, right? Like that's what, like you wouldn't run Hero Tamsin as a board clear, but sometimes you needed it, right?
Mhm.
And so like this gives you the flexibility to either do that or develop board or whatever you need to do. Like you're generally going to get something that's useful out of those 3 discover options on the first one.
I could see just playing a sort of, slightly greedier imp version where you just, you've got Symphony, you've got the fatigue cards, then you throw Mal'Ganis in there because it also buffs your demons +2/+2,
Sure.
which is often forgotten about.
Can even run Void Caller in that deck, maybe.
No.
Nope.
Oh, come on.
You pull your Mischievous Imps and play without the Battle Cry. You can't do that.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a fun 5 seconds.
And listeners, it's been a fun 2 hours, but we had a great time talking about this. We had a great time theory crafting, and now we're going to go and see you back after the expansion, potentially on launch day. Before we go, we're going to give a special coin concede to L-Bomb, who took all of our footage, sorted the games by class, and uploaded it directly to our YouTube. It's going on throughout the weekend. If you want to see all of our theory crafting games through the weekend, they're going to be over there on the Coin Concede YouTube. So, L-Bomb, thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. All right. If many folks like to thank, check out our thanks section on the website, coinconcede.com. Find our contact info, show notes, Patreon information. You can support our show over at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com or into our email, coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. Like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Doja K, Crush Cat, Beef Squatch, David P, Faded Black, Wildu, Jeremy T, Battle Caps, Grumpy Monk, Kreb Mart, and the Burger Club. And producers, you're just wonderful. Coin Concedes, I'm going for Superior David, riding on to the pastures beyond content creation. I told him this, and I meant it. I said, we never would have been friends if you didn't dress up like your mom on TV. So, David, thank you for everything you've done. We will miss you. And by the way, spoilers, Guff on Twitter, it was him. It was David.
Oh.
So, you know what Guff would say? I'll miss you! But you're gone but not forgotten, David. Don't worry. We're still going to be friends. And if you keep playing ladder, I will play you, and I will message you, and I will throw a shake weight when I win or lose. Promise.
And he did say he's trying to find a way to get back into doing this as a hobby again, which
Yeah.
would, hopefully he'll be able to do that. And I mean, that's, it's always a risk whenever you go full time in that you're either going to, that you could just burn out on it, and that happens, right? So hopefully he finds a healthier place that he can continue to be in the community.
Yeah.
On his terms.
Yeah, he'll need to detox from content creation a little bit,
Yeah.
but he'll get there.
I'm sure.
Edel, coin conceits?
So my coin concedes are first to Dragon Rider, who made it into the creator program as a representative of Baddest Women of Hearthstone. So pretty sweet to get that org some rep, as well as for her to be able to participate in the creator program that way. She has done incredible work for the community, so I just, expect she will continue to do that, and it will just be awesome for everyone. And then I also want to coin concede to Alkaline Cat, who we met up for dinner earlier today because we live in like the same metro area.
Did it.
Not like we did it once before, like 7 months ago. We just like have been busy and forgotten. So we're gonna try and stay in contact and do that more often because it's we just kind of forget that we have one of our Hearthstone friends actually in the same area.
And Wicked, coin conceits?
I'm gonna coin concede to Sidisi, well, also for getting into the content creator program this week, and also for being kind enough to hang out and mod in my channel unexpectedly when I was doing the theory crafting, and being there to keep an eye on things and allow me to yell at him when the Hunter cards RNG went poorly, because every time that Hunter RNG doesn't go in my way, it's his fault. So but he's a good guy, and I'm glad that he works hard. He works really hard with a lot of the stuff that he does in a lot of different areas. So I'm glad that he that he's getting recognized for that as well.
A lot of great folks finally making it into the creator program, and it's wonderful to see. So thank you, everyone. My headphones are about to die, so keep calm, and we'll see you at launch. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Outro. All right. Everyone, headphones gonna die, and I kind of forgot to eat dinner, so I'm gonna die, so we're gonna drop the stream here. But thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you
390.
soon.
Bye.
390, yeah, almost a 400. Bye, everybody.